Okay, so here is the NAS itself, just sitting in the network rack right there. And basically we have 4 16 terabyte Seagate Exos drives right here, ready to be installed. And hopefully that'll be a pretty big storage increase from what we've got now. And now we can see the NAS itself. Let's unlock drive bays 5 to 8. Now those are unlocked, we can press them in to release. And we can slide them all out. As you can see here, the drives that are currently installed are not particularly good drives. They're actually 3 laptop drives and 1 old desktop drive, so they're not NAS rated at all. It'd be good to finally get rid of them. So these 3.5 inch drives are toolless to install. You just basically, you pull this little piece off here on both sides. There we go. And then you can see the little mounts there. They just kind of sit in place. There we go. That's out. And hopefully the new ones fit. They're a bit, well, they seem to be bigger, but they're actually about the same size as it looks like here. So these just slide in something like that. And the case just bends around it. Yeah, you just line up the screws on the side with the actual screws for the drive. And then these side pieces, they actually are what secures it. They have little pegs in them. And then that's in, and that's now secure, that's not going to come out. For each of these, however, I'm going to have to unscrew these screws to remove them all. Alright, they're all in their drive caddies and they're ready to go into the NAS once again. So let's put them in one by one. I'm not worried about them going in the same drive bays they came out of. It should be fine. We'll start by sliding in this one here. So, and we'll do the next one. So now we can push these in at the top. And at the bottom. And now that those are all installed, you can see them coming online one by one. The last one's still taking a second here, but it'll get there. I'll just lock these again. And now we can basically just close up the rack entirely.
Now, I did actually think that was going to be it, but I ended up deciding on a memory upgrade as well. So that's what you're looking at in front of you. And we're just going to install that same way we install the drives, basically.
Alright, so just a quick little unboxing here. This is the memory I got. It's a 64GB kit from V-Color, and I just got it off of Amazon, and it arrived within a few days. So let's open it up from here, sort of like that. Let's slide that out. This is the memory itself, so now we'll just grab out the actual NAS and get it ready to install it. Hopefully this all works. And you can see the NAS is here powered off, so I'm just going to disconnect it. That should be everything, so we'll lift it out now. And here we are. So this is the NAS itself upside down, so that we can get to the little RAM tray right here. So we're just going to unscrew this with an iFixit screwdriver, or better yet, a full-size screwdriver. Alright, and now this just slides out, and there's our RAM. The first thing I'll do is I'll remove the existing stick right here. So it just pops up like that, and you can pull it out. And we can see we've got a Synology branded DIMM right here. About 4 gigs worth, single stick. We'll just open up the new kit here. There we go, stick number 1. And this is keyed, so it only goes in one way. But yeah, you can see already, look how many more memory chips are on that. Way nicer. That's now in, you can't see the metal pins anymore. What you then do is you just push it right down and it locks in place. It's the same for the other one. Yes, so we're just going to slide that on in like that, and we're going to push it right down. And we're done. So we can now close this tray right back up. And that is it. We're just going to install it back into the rack and we'll be good. And we should be good to power this back on. Hopefully it likes the new RAM. And that's the sound of a post. Alright, now if we go back on the computer and just refresh this page, we do have a login, which means it has posted successfully.
So what I'll now show you is the state that it was in before, as well as the configuration I did as I installed these drives and the RAM as well. Alright, so we're on the PC now, and just to show you, the two volumes I've got are both in warning states. And to be fair, volume 1 has a fair amount of storage left, but I'd like to basically get rid of volume 2 here, because this is just made of 4 random drives I had laying around. They're not NAS grade drives. There's like a 2.5 inch one in there as well. It's purely used for backups. There's no important data on it, but I do need to get that migrated to here, which is why we're doing this now while we have the spare space that we can use. Now, what I'm going to do, just to show you, this is basically the config of volume 1. We've got 2 8TB drives and 2 6s. And at the moment we're using SHR1, which is about 18.2 terabytes of available capacity. Now, additionally, we're going to be going to SHR2 from SHR1, and that just means we have an extra drive available to fail before we lose any actual data, which is good. And I think that's important because we have twice the amount of failure points with 8 drives versus 4 drives, so I reckon that's pretty necessary. Now, the reason that I went with 4 additional drives rather than just 1 or 2 or even 3 is because if you look here, if we added an additional 16 terabyte drive, the amount of unused space just jumps up. That's a good 12.7 terabytes there that I can't use, and it's just wasted essentially. And that's for both SHR1 and SHR2. And that's the same with 2 drives, although SHR1 is a bit better, but I want to use SHR2. So yeah, I don't want any unused space. So if you see here, we add 4 and then we get all this space here available. So this is kind of the ideal setup to have. And then once one of them fail, we can just swap them out for bigger drives. And then imagine that these are all gone. I can now have a much larger volume. So we've got like a good 87 terabytes on SHR2, which is going to be more than enough for what I need. So going back to the NAS itself, so the first thing we'll need to do is basically delete all of the backups I've currently got. So in this task list here, we've got a bunch of different things that run on a schedule just to ensure that I've got like daily backups for my main rig and any other data I might need. So I'm just going to delete all these, and this should delete all the actual data as well, which will clear up some space on volume 2 you'll see down here. All right, so this is now finished. Now I'm just going to recreate all these tasks so these backups can run on the main volume, and then I'll go ahead and I'll deal with this last 200 gigs here that needs to be moved across. All right, and now those have been set up on the vault, which is the main volume here. Hopefully there's enough storage to finish these 2 backups. 2 terabytes might not cut it because it's got about 4 separate drive letters to go through. But yeah, you can see it's pulling data now for that. The next thing I'll do is I'll just clear out basically the lab volume here. This last 200 gig, I'll just move it across to the vault. All right, that's going through now, and I'll be back when that's finished. All right, so next we're going to remove volume 2 entirely. So if we go into storage manager here, then into storage, we can then see storage pool 2 down here as well as volume 2. If we select the options here, we can click remove volume 2. That'll erase all data, which is fine. There's nothing really on there except for the recycle bin. I don't want my password. And you can see it's now removing that volume there. System successfully removed volume 2, and you can see it's disappeared down here. Next, we can remove the storage pool because I no longer need that separate storage pool. And that's now been removed. So we're good to install the additional 4 drives now. So if we go back on the NAS here, we can see that the drives aren't actually assigned to anything yet. But if we go into this section here, drive 8, 7, 6, and 5 are now installed and are healthy. And they've got 14.6 terabytes each. So if we click on manage available drives, we're now going to go to add drive for storage expansion. It's going to be for storage pool 1. We're going to use all 4 drives, which will give us an estimated capacity of 69.1 terabytes. There is apparently one drive that does not meet their requirements. The M.2 drive, that's fine. That's just for caching anyway, so I'm not too fussed about that. We go next. We're going to expand the capacity of that volume. And we're going to apply that. So total capacity will be 70,738.95 gigabytes. All data on the newly added drive will be erased. That's fine. There's nothing on them because they're brand new. You can see they're initializing up here. All right, now we're on to step 1 of 3, which is at 0.02%. That might take a fair bit. Once this is complete, we're going to convert the volume from SHR1 to SHR2. And that's because at the moment we've got 1 drive fault tolerance and I want to up that to 2 just because they're new drives and we have twice as many that can fail. All right, so it's now been about a week later and the expansion has been complete and the drives have all been optimized. I have scheduled a data scrubbing to occur pretty soon. But before I do that, I want to change the RAID type just to give us an extra drive of fault tolerance. So if we go up here, I'm going to click change RAID type. Our only option is SHR2, which is what I want. And that will give us 2 drive fault tolerances. And that'll work with the minimum 4 drives there. We've got 8, so we're fine. Let's go next. So here is where I realized that Synology does not allow you to upgrade an existing volume from SHR to SHR2 without having additional empty drives. So because I've already expanded this volume and I've used the space on those drives, I can't now convert that to SHR2, and I also can't remove those 2 drives because they're required for the SHR1 volume I've got. I could deactivate one and that would make the volume go into a critical state and try and recover. But if I remove 2, that would just crash the RAID. So I don't really have another option other than to essentially recreate the whole storage pool and create a new volume with SHR2 from the beginning. Unfortunately, that's the only way I can fix this. And that's what I did. So back to the video, I guess. All right, so it's been a few days, but I've now been able to move from SHR1 to SHR2. So we have 2 drive fault tolerance. Now the process for that was a bit tricky. I had to make a new storage pool using the 16 terabyte drive in drive bay 8. That allowed me to move all my data over somewhere temporarily, so I could delete storage pool 1 and then recreate it with SHR2. So I've got my data back on now. I've got my apps back installed. I'm just kind of burning it in now, just making sure everything's all good. There's no errors with the drives or anything like that. Once I've done that, I'll go in here and I'll go add drive and I'll add that 8th drive back in, but no rush to do that right now. What we will do though, is if we go up to here and we go shut down, we're going to be doing a RAM upgrade next.
Just logging in and everything looks healthy. Let me open up the resource monitor and we should see that memory is now 59.8 gigabytes. So that's the full 64 showing up here and it's using about 1.6. So we might have to get some VMs going or up the resources allocated in Docker. Yeah, this RAM should help with any transcoding that needs to be done and any containers that I'm running or even VMs that I intend to add later on.
All right, so I did end up adding that last drive in after a few days, and I'll just show you now what I've ended up with. So this is my storage configuration on my main desktop, and the NAS has this volume and this one here as well. Actually, they're the same volume, they're just different shares in different folders. But as you can see, we've now got 52.3 terabytes total with 34 free. So we're looking pretty good for the foreseeable future. There is actually also another volume here called Dungeon, which is just an external hard drive I have plugged into my NAS, and that's just shared over SMB as well. All I use that for is just recordings of my whole desktop. So if I'm ever in like a meeting or doing like work from home stuff, I'll just record all my screens so I can reference back at what I've worked on. And that's just a good way of having storage available to do that. But all in all, it's gone pretty well. If you're wondering what I use all this storage for, well, the majority of it is archives. So for example, all my videos I've done are all backed up here, so I can go back to the raw files and edit them if I need to. So for example, one from 2020, I've got the project files. I've got, oh, it's a bad example. Let's go to a different one. Yeah, here's all the raw files, the Premiere Pro project file, and any data for recording that I've used. So I can just go back and re-edit that video or re-upload that video if I want. And I have done that before with, for example, my Minecraft tribute video and making a version of it that I was more happy with. So I uploaded that one again. The other thing I have on here is also just a bunch of TV shows and movies. So in here, there's some examples of the kind of TV shows I have. And this, I believe, is a few terabytes on its own. There's also movies and music and photos and all that stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got on the NAS. And on the daily, I probably add about 10 gigs to it, so I should be good for a while. we'll have to see how we go. And yeah, let me know if you guys want more videos with server type stuff, because I've actually done a few things that I think would be interesting to do. For example, I made my NAS support SSL, so it has a valid SSL certificate here, even though it's not exposed to the internet. So that's solved another problem for me as well. And I also have some plans in the future to do a Proxmox VM setup, so that basically I can move my servers, which actually are running these volumes here as well, moving these to VMs that are on a dedicated Proxmox host with failover and high availability and all that. That'll be interesting to go into. So I might do something with that if you guys are interested. Let me know. But anyway, thanks so much for watching this video. Please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Maybe check me out on Twitch or join my Discord if you're interested. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.